I caught 3 fish today, darling. Funny how solitude clears the mind, doesn't it? As I stared at Nathan's text, a hollow cheerfulness radiating from his words, my gaze drifted to the photo glowing on my laptop screen. Nathan, effortlessly relaxed, his arm draped around his secretary at a beachside bar in Punta Cana. The ocean in the background was as clear as the betrayal in front of me. The timestamp mocked me. 2 minutes ago, I typed back, fingers steady, betraying none of the fury simmering beneath the surface. That's wonderful, honey, I replied, my words wrapped in saccharine sweetness. I'm so happy that nature is bringing you calm. The irony tasted bitter on my tongue. I'm Leanna Thompson, and until 10 minutes ago, I believed my marriage was solid, a fortress built on trust. But then Rachel, my coworker, burst into my office at our Denver law firm, her face pale and tight with concern. Without a word, she shoved her phone toward me, Brianna Moore's Facebook page glaring like an unwanted truth. You need to see this, she whispered, her voice trembling with the weight of something I wasn't ready to know. My spouse of 8 years was reportedly enjoying a luxurious resort with his 20-something secretary while on a wilderness getaway to recuperate from work stress. I kept scrolling through the pictures of romantic meals, beach walks at dusk, and snatched kisses by the swimming pool, with nauseating descriptions like, finally with my true love, and no more hiding. Each one is time-stamped. I nearly laughed at the absurdity of their negligence. Rachel reached for my hand and muttered, "Oh my God, Leanna, I'm so sorry. How will you respond?" I quietly shut off my laptop, maintaining a neutral demeanor from years of courtroom experience. Because his mistress couldn't help but share their romantic holiday on social media, Nathan was unaware that his well-planned camping trip was about to fall apart. He was unaware that he had given me everything I needed to ruin him as he drank cocktails and destroyed our marriage. Pulling out a legal paper, I first stated, "I'm going to text my sweet husband to see if the fish are biting. I message you again. I really miss you and am forward to read about all of your wilderness experiences." Rachel looked at me with obvious bewilderment. "Don't you go up to him?" I grinned as I recalled all the cases I had won by giving my opponents the impression that they were in the lead. I had discovered that, in my experience as a business lawyer, the element of surprise was frequently my most effective tool. Nathan believed his camping story was really creative, but he had no idea that his mistress's addiction to social media would be his undoing. You know what's preferable to exposing his deception? With my legal pad already filled with notes, I questioned Rachel, allowing him to continue lying as I destroy his whole existence. I met Nathan while attending Stanford Law School. He seemed to share my ideals of perseverance and hard work, and he was charming and motivated. Under the strain of demanding study plans and competitive internships, other couples in our class drifted away, but we became closer. That was my initial thought anyway. I declined a job offer at Morrison & Webster, one of the best investment firms in the city, after I graduated because I didn't want to begin our marriage with a long-distance relationship. He had said, "You're making the proper decision. We work as a team." I became the youngest corporate attorney at Lambert & Cole. After rapidly moving up the ranks and finding success of my own, looking back, I could see how Nathan's smile tightened whenever a customer explicitly asked me to handle their case, but he looked happy of my accomplishments. We didn't have a flawless marriage, but who is? We handled conflicts like attorneys, compromising, bargaining, and locating a middle ground. Then, as Nathan often mentioned, Brianna came to his firm 6 months ago, young, pretty, and reportedly very good at her job. He would say, "She's really efficient. At last, a secretary who can adapt to my changing schedule." I choose to ignore the warning signs. I trusted my husband after all. I was startled out of my reverie by Rachel's voice. "Do you recall last month when he didn't show up for your anniversary dinner? Claimed he had a late shift." I accessed Brianna's Facebook profile once more and went back over her history. A check-in at Barolo Grill was there, the same evening. "Last night at the office never felt so good," was the caption. I whispered, "I can't believe I was so blind," but Rachel shook her head. "Liana, you weren't blind. You had faith. There is a distinction." I considered all the other indications I had brushed aside. He never used the new gym membership, the unexpected interest in out-of-state work conferences. His laptop and phone both had new passwords. I had handled innumerable divorce cases and had seen the classic indications. However, I had persuaded myself that our marriage was unique. "What's the worst thing, bringing up our joint account data," I said. "He's funding their little romance with our money." When I showed Rachel the most recent transactions, her eyes sprang wide. "Tickets to Punta Cana in first class? A resort with 5 stars? Yes, I said, having already started to write my banking email. Not for long, though. For the following hour, I meticulously recorded each questionable transaction from our shared accounts. I forgot about the living room. Dinner is getting cold. As I developed my case, none of it mattered. The proof was incriminating. Costs for jewelry that I had never gotten, dinners at eateries I had never been to, fees for hotels in the cities where Nathan claimed to be meeting with customers. I pointed to my screen and said to Rachel, "Look at this. 3 months ago, he made the reservation for their trip to Punta Cana. This was not an impromptu moment. He has been preparing for it. Why, though, did he inform you that he was going camping? How about claiming it was simply another work trip?" My phone buzzed with another text from Nathan just as I was ready to reply. He had sent a picture this time. He had a generic scene of camping that was obviously taken from the internet, displaying a tent set up beside a body of water. His message said, "Home sweet home. Out here, the stars are breathtaking." My hands began to shake, not out of sorrow, but out of icy, unfeeling anger. After 8 years of marriage, he didn't even try to look for a credible picture to back up his falsehood. I found what I was looking for when I opened my inbox. I received the employee handbook from Nathan's company months ago after I assisted them in reviewing several contracts in bold letters right there. It is strictly forbidden for supervisors and direct reports to have a relationship. Doing so will result in immediate termination. Rachel? I murmured hesitantly. Did you know that Brianna has also been using Instagram to chronicle their whole relationship? We retrieved her profile. It was a treasure trove. Subtle pictures for months, all of them damning in some way. Coffee cups that display Nathan's name. In the corner of the meal photos is his watch. Even an after-hours selfie in his office with her sitting on his desk and him grinning up at her. Rachel's voice was strained as she replied, "It gets worse." She had been looking more closely at the financial documents I had retrieved. "Take a look at these transfers." When I saw what she had discovered, my stomach fell. Nathan's romance had involved more than just using our joint funds. For months, he had been transferring substantial amounts into a private account. I had no knowledge of this account. I muttered when I looked at the total, $90,000. "He has been keeping money hidden," Rachel delicately stated. "That's more than just affair money. That appears to be, I accomplished the exit strategy money he has been preparing to break up with me." The insight struck me like a blow to the body. This was a well-thought-out plot, not merely an affair. He had been organizing his getaway with a younger woman, methodically concealing assets, and getting ready to surprise me while I had been establishing our life together. I made up my mind and got up. "I need a favor, Rachel. Could you cover the remainder of the week's meetings for me?" "Of course," she answered. "How will you respond?" I grabbed my phone and wrote my hubby another heartfelt text to let him know how much I missed him. He will wish he had never learnt to lie because of me. I entered Harriman Credit Union as soon as it opened the following morning. The manager quickly welcomed me into his office after knowing me from the big accounts I handled. "What brings you in so early, Mrs. Thompson?" I slid across copies of Nathan's transfers and said, "I need to talk about some suspicious activity on my joint accounts. I think my husband has been transferring funds without my permission or knowledge." I moved my personal money to a new, secure account and frozen our joint accounts in less than an hour. Not until he attempted to access the funds, likely when it came time to pay for his romantic retreat, would Nathan realize this. I went back to my office and started phase 2. I gave my longtime customer, Susan Mills, the HR director of Nathan's company, a call. I started, "Susan, I have a delicate topic to discuss. Nathan and his secretary are at the center of it. More, Brianna." Susan's tone became piercing. "How about them?" I sent her a carefully chosen collection of Brianna's posts from social media. "I think this goes against your company's rules on the interactions between superiors and subordinates." It was evident from the quiet on the other end. Susan finally stated, "I'll need to escalate this immediately. This is really worrisome." "I understand," I said in a businesslike tone. "I just wanted to let you know." I then gave our locksmith a call. There were benefits to being in charge of all our housework, and Nathan had never bothered to find out any of these facts. "Yes, I urgently need all of my locks replaced, if at all feasible now." I started packing Nathan's things as I waited for the locksmith. Every monogram shirt, pricey tie, and fancy suit was placed in a heavy-duty trash bag. On our immaculate driveway, 8 years of marriage had been reduced to black plastic bags. It buzzed on my phone. Nathan texted again. I'm missing you. I'm eager to share all of my adventures with you. I typed back with a smile. I also miss you. Hello, brief inquiry. Before you left, did you remember to pay the credit card bill? He answered in a flash. Naturally, honey. Don't stress over anything. One more untruth. I was currently staring at the past due notice, so I knew he hadn't paid it. He had been too preoccupied with organizing his vacation to take care of everyday duties. Around midday, Rachel called. You must see this, Liana. Brianna just made another post. I opened Facebook. My spouse was on a sunset cruise, raising a glass of champagne. Living my best life with my soulmate, the caption said. No more hiding. I whispered, no more hiding, indeed, and sent the picture to Susan at HR. The locksmith showed up right after my divorce lawyer confirmed via email that she had submitted the necessary documentation. Everything was coming together. My phone then rang. James Morrison himself, Nathan's supervisor. Leanna, he remarked solemnly, you must be aware of the reason for my call. I can make a guess. We didn't know. To pay for this, he has been embezzling money from clients. A fair and internal audit was prompted by the pictures. It's not good. As I processed this new information, I closed my eyes. How awful. Criminal charges are horrible. We're going to report it to the police. I hung up with a weird combination of nausea and vindication. This degree of betrayal was unexpected, but it only served to affirm that I was acting morally. As I glanced at the trash bags in the driveway, I made one last addition. The top bag had a message taped to it. I hope it was worth going camping. Remember to upload images. My phone flared up with a call from an unknown number while I was going over the last draft of my divorce file. I had to respond for some reason. Is Leanna Thompson here? The voice of a woman, strange and uneasy. Who is this, indeed? Sarah is my name. Up until last month, Brianna and I shared a room. Something is important for you to know. My heart began to race. I'm paying attention. According to Sarah, this is not the first time they have done this. At Nathan's previous company, she and Brianna had already pulled off this scam. I slumped into my office chair. Which plan? Targeting high-ranking executives, they get compromising images before threatening to reveal everything unless they are bought off. However, things were different this time. In fact, Brianna fell in love with Nathan. She started sharing everything online, breaking the routine. He is enraged. It felt like the room was spinning. I considered the money Nathan had been transferring and the money he had been embezzling from clients. This was more than a simple affair. It was an intricate scam that had gotten out of hand. You're telling me this, but why? I inquired. Because yesterday night, Brianna called me in tears. Nathan is threatening to blame her for everything. She's afraid. I quickly called James Morrison back after hanging up. We must speak, James. This is more complex than you may imagine. An hour later, I sat in his office, summarizing everything Sarah had told me. James appeared to be physically unwell. He looked over the material I had collected and replied, 3 other firms. Blackmail was used against 3 more executives. How could we have overlooked this? Because they were cautious, I said, before Brianna deviated from the plan. It buzzed on my phone, Nathan once more. Sitting by the campfire to eat dinner. I wish you were present. I gazed at his message, recognizing its true nature, not merely a deception, but a deliberate plot point. Those late evenings at the workplace and all those business trips. How many more scammers did he operate that I was unaware of? James bent over. We must be careful with this, Liana. This is now a federal lawsuit if your claims are accurate. Fraud, via wire, blackmail, stealing. I took out my phone and said, I know exactly how we need to handle it. I sent Nathan a message by typing. There has been an issue with one of our accounts. Darling, are you able to check your email? I then wrote him a well-written email, one that included Sarah's statement, Brianna's social media posts, and screenshots of his prior schemes. One line was added by me. Your camping expedition must have been interrupted. My phone was inundated with notifications in a matter of minutes. Finally letting go of his camping persona, Nathan made 6 calls. Before deleting her whole Facebook account, Brianna shared a lengthy, heartbreaking video confession. It was the collapse of the house of cards. James had called the FBI previously. He stated that they would like to meet tomorrow M. This might be quite significant. I nodded, feeling oddly at ease. I'll be present. Nathan sent me one last text that night as I was sitting in my newly secured house. You have no idea what you have done. I can describe everything. As I considered all the evidence that had been securely recorded and given to several authorities, I grinned. I actually typed it back, and I fully understand. In addition, I have actual receipts, unlike your camping images. After that, I poured myself a drink of wine and blocked his phone. I could enjoy the fact that Nathan's well-built house of lies was on fire tonight, but tomorrow would be a very intense day. The FBI meeting was set to begin at 9 in the morning. The Morrison and Webster lobby was in disarray by 8:30. 8:30. It appears that Nathan and Brianna attempted to leave Punta Cana separately, but Dominican police stopped them at the airport. It appeared as though James Morrison had not slept. He rubbed his temples and remarked, 6 clients. 6 of our best clients were blackmailed for the entire sum. I concluded that it is more than $2 million. The night was spent working by the forensic accountants, and that's exactly what we've discovered thus far. Photographs were strewn all over the conference table by Agent Phillips, a perceptive lady in her 40s. Despite having different executives, Nathan and Brianna all exhibit the same behavior. The evidence was overwhelming. Your husband and Miss Moore will be extradited in 48 hours, she said, Mrs. Thompson. However, the money trail and those offshore accounts you discovered are of greater importance to us. It buzzed on my phone, a message from an unidentified number. A hotel phone is being used by Nathan. Please, baby. Everything is being ruined by you. We can resolve this. Agent Phillips nodded when I presented the message to him. Don't stop him chatting. Try something out, I responded to the text. The felonies or the affair? You don't understand, he said right away. I took care of this for us. The funds were intended for our future. It nearly made me chuckle. Our prospects? When you intended to abandon me? Who said that to you? Brianna? She's telling lies. She has no significance. Every message was being recorded by Agent Phillips. He's scurrying, she noted. Increase your effort. Really? I composed. You didn't assist her in creating that Cayman's account then, the one into which you have been transferring customer funds? Several times the typing bubbles came and went. At last, how did you learn about it? I finished his thinking. Nathan, I'm a business lawyer. I literally follow money trails for a living. The FBI says hello, by the way. His reaction was quick and frantic. I'll reveal the whereabouts of all the funds. Don't let them arrest me, please. Agent Phillips grinned. I got him. Nathan and Brianna were taken into jail in a matter of hours. Their plot, which involved several states, businesses, and victims, had been larger than anyone had anticipated. Accounts were discovered by the FBI in 3 distinct nations. A board emergency meeting was called by James Morrison. The reputation of the firm, he started. We'll make it, I said. Because all of the victims are being made whole once you caught it and reported it. That is the tale we are narrating. He gave me a thankful look, to which I already knew the answer. I answered. Liana, if you want to join us as general counsel, let me think about it. My plans were more ambitious. Rachel brought over wine and dinner later that night as I was sitting in my home office. I heard Nathan trying to plea bargain, she added. I gave a nod, offering to provide testimony against all those who were involved in their earlier activities. It seems that even I did not find all the victims. How are you doing? I surveyed my workspace, the life I'd built, the case files I'd won, and the degrees on the wall. What's humorous, do you? Until we had children, he always viewed my work as a hobby, something I did to kill time. He was unaware that all of those abilities and expertise were precisely what I needed to defeat him. Rachel's glass went up. To karma? No, I told her. Considering all the evidence I had systematically collected, all the legal wrangling I had done, and all the dominoes I had meticulously positioned before bringing them down. To fairness, the sort that you create for yourself. Thankfully, the trial was short. Both Brianna and Nathan accepted plea bargains. She received 5 years and he received 8. Their attorneys advised against contesting the accusations because the evidence I had compiled was so extensive. Ultimately, the man who had spent years controlling others was unable to use his words to win this one. Wearing the same deep blue suit I wore in our first mock trial in law school, I sat in the courtroom during sentence. Nathan's face was a mask of despair and incredulity as he stared at me nonstop. It had now dawned on him that I had been playing chess while he was playing checkers. He made one final attempt. Your Honor, my wife and I could resolve this in private. Judge Matthews interrupted him. The federal government is pursuing charges, Mr. Thompson, and we have proof of numerous crimes of embezzlement, blackmail, and wire fraud. Your wife isn't. I didn't stick around to see him being carried off. Rather, I felt lighter than I had in years as I left the courthouse and into the sunny Denver morning. I already had a corner office, a team of my own, and a promotion to general counsel from Morrison and Webster. More significantly, though, I had launched a side business that assisted businesses in detecting and avoiding internal fraud. It turned out that someone who had discovered one of the largest corporate blackmail scams in Colorado history was in high demand. A week later, Nathan received his final letter. I left it unopened in the shredder. Some chapters only need to end. They don't require a last page. After a while, the media attention subsided and my life found a new rhythm. My fraud consulting business grew more quickly than I had anticipated, and clients from 3 states came to me for my advice. From his prison cell, I occasionally wondered if Nathan saw the articles about my accomplishment. 6 months after the sentencing, Sarah, Brianna's old roommate, dropped by my office one morning. She added nervously, "I heard you help companies protect themselves against fraud now." I thought, well, after everything that happened, I'm starting a small business. I looked at her for a second, recalling how Nathan's whole plan had been uncovered thanks to her phone call. I pointed to the chair across from my desk and said, "The first consultation is free." James Morrison paid me a visit later that night while I was working late in my corner office at Morrison and Webster. He said, "Just signed another client. They specifically requested you to handle their case, claiming they had overheard how you managed the Thompson scandal." The irony of it all tugged at the corners of my mouth, forcing a faint smile. Interestingly, my most compelling credential wasn't my expertise, but Nathan's relentless desire to see me fall. James went on, mentioning how he tried to write to me from prison, pleading that I convinced you to respond to his letters. I kept my eyes fixed on the screen, fingers dancing across the keyboard, unbothered. "And," I prompted, my voice steady, "I told him you were too occupied with running 2 thriving businesses to bother reading prison mail." James replied smoothly. Finally, I glanced up, catching my reflection in the office window. The woman who stared back wasn't fragile, nor was she marked by betrayal. She was a survivor, carved from the remnants of deception and stronger for it. "Perfect answer," I said softly, a small nod of approval, before turning my focus back to my work. For more gripping stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the SoraBook channel. Stay tuned for our next videos filled with twists and intrigue.